hey, let's talk about Che Guevara. Why is he such a hero? Kids are walking around with him on a T-shirt. He was a communist leader with like Castro, who, half led revolutions around South and Central America, and was part of the esprit de corps that has created a communist Venezuela. And so we put that on college campuses, and now what's going on in Venezuela, we have half of our college campuses kind of cheering for Venezuela against the United States. Listen, is the Department of War waging war on fat generals? That's what you think, because that's what the media is saying, right? And so if you listen to the media, if you listen to the college campuses, they've got it all wrong, and we're just a bunch of tyrants, going after some innocent people. But really, we're going to talk about Trump and the Nobel Peace Prize. Today's the day. It doesn't seem like he's got it. We're on the brink of peace in the Middle East, but we're on the brink of war right in the Gulf of America, in Venezuela. Which way is that going to go? Hey, we're glad to have you at the Bible Nation podcast. I'm Doug Levesque. Folks, remember, the best culture is a Bible culture. It's proven, and it works. What are we standing up for? The ability, the freedom to do what's right as God defines that right.
God's the ultimate author of liberty.
We don't want government to stand between us and our freedom to do what is right.
All right, we're back. I'm Doug Levesque with Pastor Jason Georges from Emmanuel Baptist Church, and also Jesse Levesque and Jackson Levesque on the computer, editing for us. Thank you, Jack. Well, this is part 2 of Trump and the Nobel Peace Prize. Last time we talked about how today is the day that supposedly the hostages in Israel are to be released. Today was the day when supposedly Trump was going to be given the Nobel Peace Prize for everything that he was doing. Today is the day where the Abraham Accords are rebirthed, and the Middle East is going to have a swan song of peace again. And yet today's the very day where Trump is unleashing the ability for Ukraine to shoot American Tomahawks that can reach almost any important target in Russia. And Putin is declaring today that that is an act of war. So we're at the very day where people are yelling peace and people are yelling war and people are yelling civil war. And I wanted to continue the conversation because recently we declared that drug cartels can be terrorist organizations, and therefore we can militarily go against them, not just with policing agencies, but with warships and with bombs and with special forces. All these things have kind of gathered down off the coast of Venezuela, and everybody's just waiting for, the pin to drop to where, are we going to invade Venezuela? Is it legitimate? The left is saying, no, it's not legitimate. Trump's just trying to own the drug trade himself, and trying to negotiate it. But will strength bring peace? In other words, will just parking off the coast do it? I mean, you'd think, you'd hope, right? But what do you guys think? Is just going to be there and having jets and having videos and Trump and Melania watching, bombing runs off the thing? Is that going to be enough? And Maduro kind of negotiate his way out of things, or are we really going to hit it? And is today the day? It's funny how it all comes down to 48 hours. I think Maduro basically can't let it go. He's like Putin. Putin can't walk away now. If Putin walks away, his own people will kill him somehow. I think Maduro can't walk away. There's nowhere to run. The former dictator resort, where all the dictators go. Assad ran away to Moscow, but apparently just had some sort of attempt on his life, and people are saying no, that was Putin's men trying to do that to him. So where do you run? Where does Putin run? Where does Maduro run in this sort of thing? I think it's 50-50. I think strength could do it, but I think we've got some pilots with their fingers on the trigger, not just blowing up drug boats. What do you think? What do you think, guys, on that? Will strength bring peace, or is invasion imminent?
Yeah, you do wonder how much influence the cartel has on the actual government of Venezuela.
Yeah, we've declared it a narco state.
Yeah.
So that means it's embedded somehow. People are afraid, right?
Yeah.
People are self-interested in it. What do we do?
Yeah, but then again, we're not dealing with a country that's as sophisticated as some of the others we've talked about, and so you would think, to go take down a boat off their coast might be a good reminder,
Right.
to those.
Yeah, we're ramping up the warnings.
where you can't even see us.
Yeah.
We'll blow your ship out of the water. We got the intelligence. We got the strength. So, but
We know we can do it.
we know we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, they say, well, we don't have enough Marines out there to really invade. We don't need to invade. There's a whole lot of things that we can do. But if Trump feels snubbed and decides, okay, let's go ahead and show our muscle down here, for something else. If Trump feels snubbed in this, will it be one of those things? Well, I don't have the Nobel Peace Prize, but I'm going to have Venezuelan oil. And we'll continue to leverage Russia. I mean, you know what I'm saying? These things all are with Trump. He can flip one way or the other based upon getting snubbed or, peace and war are on both sides of his mouth.
Well, the Russian situation is a question of exercising our capability.
Mm-hmm.
And we believe we are more capable.
Mm-hmm.
But the Venezuela situation is exercising, is it legal? Because it's a different type of war.
Yeah.
It's not the same type of combatants. It's not military versus military.
Right.
This is the drug trade. And so its efficacy is not based upon our capability.
Right.
It's really, it comes down to the legality of it.
Right.
The question of whether or not we could overrun Venezuela with minimal effort is nil. I mean, I don't even think the whole U.S. military shifts down there. I think our resources in the area there have already proven they're no match.
At least regime change.
Right.
Yeah.
We could cause plenty of havoc, and Venezuela is a no case to put it. But now you ask yourself, it's the basis of this war. It's the basis of, because Trump is arguing on the basis of this drug trade,
Right.
and then what it's doing to America, and we have to stop it. And is this the mechanism in which to stop it?
Yeah, because same thing with Maduro, narco state sort of thing.
Right.
Okay, well then George Soros supporting Antifa.
Right.
That's a terrorist state. So can we have war within?
Right.
So I mean, it's like the same argument.
It's a redefining of the combatant.
Yes.
Who is the combatant? Who is the enemy?
Yep.
Who? Because at some point in our jurisprudence,
Yep.
you go from a person with some sort of rights, some sort of due process,
Right.
right? And I understand the distinction of the Constitution and the its demands for due process for an American citizen
Right.
differ, but there is still international due
Law,
process.
yeah.
There is still law,
Which
that
we've been
governs-
champions for.
Right,
Yeah.
which still governs that. But then that kind of always changes when you go from a criminal to an enemy combatant.
And the reason that Jason is saying this is because imagine AOC wins the next presidential election and uses the same methodology to straight white Christian men all being a terrorist organization, right? Because it could very easily flip within our own borders or, turn on England or turn on Israel or something like that. So if everything's going to, shift, if we're going to change a little bit of definition and then direct military power, which is political power, then it can go the other way as well. So it's a slippery slope that we ought to be very careful to step on. So we've already said this is the case. This is a terrorist organization. They've already said that about Antifa. If we can do that there, can we do it to Mexico? And then can we do it to Venezuelan gangs in Chicago? Can we do it to the Chicago governor and police chief who are saying we're not gonna arrest immigrants? So that's what he's saying. That's what Jason's saying. This is huge ramifications.
Well,
for war
once
and
you
peace.
redefine
Yeah.
and extend to the executive branch who they can call an enemy combatant.
Yep.
We've been around long enough to know very easy I can be called an enemy combatant.
So, basically, Abraham Lincoln, when you declare martial law, we had war within our country.
Yeah.
Okay, it's civil war. In World War II, we had martial law, and we arrested a bunch of citizens, Japanese citizens, but anybody that was having a Nazi flag, we could arrest or whatever. So that's the ramifications of what we're talking about. At the end of World War I, veterans weren't getting paid. So veterans went to Washington, D.C. and surrounded the White House and literally were holding it siege. And we're saying, we want our money, we want our money, we want our money, and we want veterans' rights, et cetera, et cetera. And no general would go out and fight or fire on the vets except for General MacArthur. General MacArthur said, I will. General MacArthur went and took troops, and they opened fire on vets, and they killed vets outside. That was civil war. It was martial law. And that's kind of been swept under because then MacArthur ended up being a great general, et cetera, et cetera. But that's the ramifications of what we're having today. It's unprecedented. Our forefathers said the Army doesn't fight against citizens. Policing actions do that. But we're taking that to the full limit, right? And I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's that we haven't been so infiltrated that might be necessary, but it could turn on us.
We have to understand what we're doing.
Yeah,
we'll have to understand what we're doing. Even
it could turn on us.
What's the press secretary's name? I had it in my mind earlier.
Carolyn Lovett.
Lovett.
Yeah.
She even today, so I was listening to one of her briefings, talking about the National Guard being used to help these cities, and the idea that these mayors need to ask for our help. And she said, in the context of the National Guard, these mayors need to be asking for federal law enforcement help. But she meant the National Guard.
Right.
Well, the National Guard is not a
Federal law enforcement help.
agency.
Yeah. So that was a open mouth insert foot because you're blurring the lines. We're Republicans, we're conservative, we voted for Trump, we're for him. We agree these cities are out of order and Soros it's a communist infiltration and all this kind of stuff, and something needs to be done. But they're just going to say we're McCarthyists if she has a slip up like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the better solution to those, and maybe this goes into the Venezuela conversation. The better solution is if there's police not willing to do their job, then we get new police.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what happens. Like, okay, let's go in, and cities can become financially defunct, and the federal government or the state government comes in and takes over their finances. Yeah. I'm all right with the federal government saying your police force has become defunct. We're going to take it over, but we're going to take it over as a function of your police department.
Sure.
In other words, so we're bringing people in, but they're acting under the auspice. And I know we're blurring in its semantics, but the semantics are important.
It is important.
So the same drug runners, okay, we're sending U.S. fighter planes and helicopters to attack these drug boats in international waters. Okay, that's akin to an act of war. That's a foreign vessel. When we can have the capability of tracking that vessel, and as soon as they cross into U.S. waters, because that's where they're heading, our Coast Guard is equipped and legally authorized to take care of them.
Yeah.
So you just wait a little bit longer. We have a system for that. We have that mechanism.
50 more miles, nautical miles, then you blow that up.
Yeah, the Coast Guard, we blow it up, and we're all with it. So
we're taking it to the limits, but it's because we've had so many years of Obama and Biden and Soros that the infiltration is here, and at least by the perspective of those now running the Pentagon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the military-industrial union, whatever, that basically we're going to have to fight this from within. Trump had his first term, and all that happened. COVID was introduced. COVID restrictions were introduced. He was actually enforcing them, but that was something that they used as a mechanism against him. Cities started to burn, and then he lost the election because the election mechanism wasn't controlled. So now he's in saying, okay, we're going to control both sides of the border on the sea. It's the Gulf of America. Greenland's ours. Canada's ours. Let's just state it, make them all arm, to put Russia off or put China off or whatever. So, and then let's come in and do this. It is they're putting us on a war footing. Right. To me, it's like we can't just declare war. Let's spend this first year covering all of our flanks, getting their fifth columns out, so that then if we decide to do something, we're in a good shape. So they're pushing the limits.
And how would a Trump hypothetically extend his presidency? If there were
good
some
thought.
kind of
Because,
war going on.
Yeah, because he's already said it. Obama said it. Now he's saying it. I'm saying everybody's saying it. The Constitution, the wheels on the bus of the Constitution are rocking.
I think it is
are
important.
rocking.
I think it is important to always look at, if it was a president we didn't like, the things he was doing, would we like the powers and the things he's doing?
Right.
If it was Biden militarizing the National Guard, would we like it? Now, obviously, we can look further at the outcomes.
Yeah.
And he's, tracking down illegal immigrants, trying to get drugs out of our country. Okay.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important as Americans to look at what's being maybe subtly undermined
Be careful what
because
precedents are set.
Yes.
because it's you like the guy. If it was a different president, a different office, we would be throwing up red flags.
The Constitution was supposed to set that up.
Yeah.
But modernity is kind of making it where even this document is it's rocking.
Yeah.
So let's go down that pathway for a second, because you named COVID and all the Biden Obama things. So if you think about this like seismic activity, and we understand an earthquake is a wave, and what actually destroys the building, a building during an earthquake, is that it's this harmonic of seismic waves that get that building to start rocking.
Yep.
And the initial lean over is not the greatest.
Right.
It's the harmonic of that wave going back and forth until finally the structure cannot withstand it anymore.
Yep.
And so buildings that are designed to endure earthquakes have a way of dissipating the seismic wave. Okay.
Yep.
What we're seeing in our system right now is how do we dissipate the seismic wave?
Yeah.
What we're seeing is the back and forth. And so the left has this extreme measure, and so now the right feels justified. Trump is now empowered to make this, and it's just going to go back and forth.
Yeah.
And what's going to break is the Constitution.
Yeah, it is, and it's a threat. And and it's not that I don't think like Trump is America first, but at the same time he's Trump first, and so that kind of bothers me in regards of that. So we have all this talk of war and peace at the same time, and let us shift over to Taiwan real quick.
Can I add something before
Yeah,
we
go
move
ahead.
our
I'm sorry.
hemisphere?
Yeah.
So all these things, even when we get into Taiwan, but I wanted to bring it up here. For the average American taxpayer, we're in a government shutdown. U.S. military people aren't getting their pay. Foreign powers are still getting their pay.
Good.
The conversation via social media or whatever, blog sites, is what is our responsibility? Where does it? Is it just within our borders? Is it our hemisphere? Is it the top 10, or is it the countries that can't defend themselves? Where does our responsibility lie? And just for the taxpayer who does his blue collar job, comes home, sees his money going to Ukraine or Israel, and he says, why are my tax dollars going there and they're not staying in the country? What would you say to America's responsibility? What is our responsibility? Does Venezuela become more important because it's in our hemisphere, as opposed to we're talking about Taiwan and Korea
Definitely.
and Israel and all that?
I think Canada being in bed with Chinese, we're interested in that. Greenland having no defense whatsoever, and Denmark not taking its responsibility. Yeah, let's force them to take the responsibility. They are.
Yeah.
Mexico, yes. Central America, yes. Panama, yes. Venezuela, and is right there at the end there, and has been a problem with Cuba along there. So let's call it the Gulf of America. And I think they did that first thing. I think that was a plan.
Yeah.
So I think absolutely yes. I think we're forcing NATO to step up because I think we told NATO, we'll take care of China, but you got to take care of Russia. I don't think we want to do them. But yet we're still having to kind of, prop it up or whatever. So I'm an American first, but I think that means death to all Russian commies.
Right. Right.
I've been there. I've been there as a missionary to Russia. I mean, I love them. And so it's not that Russian people. That's
Rocky IV.
It's Rocky IV. If I can get along, you can. Why can't we?
Right, and you can't just it's kind of intellectually dishonest to say, well, wait till it's at our borders because then it's too late. Or it already is. It's already in people's phones and
it's
infiltrated. It's in the churches. It's in the social groups.
Like, what are our borders?
Right,
what are
right.
our borders?
This is why I think part of the plan all along was to let Doge come in, get the information, stop U.S. aid, shut down the Department of Education. I mean, it's all part of the same plan that's preemptive to whatever's coming. Yeah. So whatever's coming is going to be either beautiful or ugly.
Yep.
And if the other side gets to do it, they'll do it.
They're all
and they're mad, and they might do something big to make it not happen. There's a lot of church threats right now.
Right.
Churches need to be alarmed because that what do? You hit the heart and mind. You hit the heart and will, and that's churches in America. You hit those people.
Well, and they should be the dissipators.
That should be the dissipation.
You talk about what holds
prayer,
up
God,
what holds up the structure,
Yeah.
right? And then I was also thinking about that as we're talking about that but on that same idea, that's what Charlie Kirk was.
He was absolutely.
Charlie Kirk was the pressure relief.
I can see where someone would say
he was the pressure relief. Like he was actually having this discourse, and we're getting it out.
Yep.
And he was popping the pimple before it blew up the whole thing more
Yeah.
And now he's gone.
Yeah.
And that's probably why he was so big of a threat.
Let's preempt the movement, whatever. It could go either way, or, it just is what it is. That was excellent. Both of you guys, great points. Thanks. Taiwan, obviously, is the other part of China. They are Chinese people. They speak Chinese. The other part, Chiang Kai-shek went to Taiwan and was against the communists, and so their own thing. We've always kind of been for them. They have the chips, right? The world is going AI. So who owns the chips is going to be who owns the AI. So, it's kind of tied together. But, United States is trying to set up a NATO of the Pacific. And we thought we had South Korea. That's shaky. Their elections have been going left and right. Taiwan's, their elections are shaky. They've been going left and right. But I'll tell you what, Japan has just had talk about seismic, Pastor Georges, because they elected what they call their Iron Lady. She is the Peggy Noonan, the Margaret Thatcher.
They're calling her Thatcher.
She is a hard-nosed. Japan should be for Japan first, right? Let's own our own nukes. She's hardcore. And so China's freaking out right now at this. So this could be a wonderful thing. And it's all coming down on the same day that all this other stuff is coming down.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying God does in control of the day. He's control of the day. He's control of the mind. And so whatever Trump's doing in the Atlantic, in the Pacific, in the Middle East, it all comes down to a day, and that God's moving him as far as what his decisions are. Go ahead.
Well, why does a shift in Japan scare China so much? Because they know they might possibly be able to get away with Taiwan and us not get involved.
Right.
And that's the remnants of Vietnam.
Yeah.
There's just not an appetite to go over and fight for a little country like that.
Right.
It's just Taiwan.
Well, they did it in Korea. We lost 1 million Chinese. America lost 50,000.
Right.
We did it in Vietnam. Same numbers. Maybe Taiwan is the same thing.
Right.
We lose 1 million.
And
they
we don't
lose
have a
50,000.
stomach for that.
Right.
And that generation is still alive.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of Vietnam vets that do not want to see their country go back to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. But Japan is a non-negotiable for us.
Yeah.
If you attack Japan, we cannot stand for Japan being attacked.
Yeah.
We're too tied to them economically. We're too tied with them. Everything. We're too in bed with Japan to allow them to get attacked.
Absolutely.
Because even Ukraine and
Japan is under our nuclear umbrella. Yeah.
And so China has to realize, like, Japan, for all intents and purposes, is like bordering the United States.
Yeah.
And if Japan all decides to get hostile or get tough or exercise themselves in a certain way, they could drag the United States in easily as well.
I think that unless the hostages get released today, that's the best news of the day for the United States and total diplomacy and the possibilities of peace and everything else. So I just bring that up because it's amazing that everything teeters on the same 48-hour period, And then I just wanted to close on talking about Pete Hegseth's speech. I think it was made much of. People knew what it was going to be. He already wrote the book. Everything had already been said. You didn't bring all those guys in just to berate them publicly and have the effect of getting rid of a few generals, right? I think probably more was said, and there was more directive militarily given that had to be given face to face. I really do. I really do. But actually, Trump's been good to hold his signals. Remember, we had jets take off for China, but really they were going to Iran to bomb. He's done a good job at playing these things. Everybody's using the same AI, for lies, whatever. So Pete Hegseth gets up, and the media is mocking because he's picking on beards and fat generals and da-da-da-da. It's not really what he's picking on. He's taken the Army back to 1991 when Bush was there, and we won the war outright. And he's going back to a Reaganomics and a Reagan system of military. So it's not like we're going back to the dark ages, but he's taking it back to a point where men were men, women were women, everyone shaved. It didn't matter if you were a Hindu or a Muslim or a Buddhist or a Southern Baptist. Doesn't matter. You shave your face.
Meritocracy. That's
a meritocracy.
Well, and understand. Okay, let's go on the cultural aspect first.
Yeah.
I think Hegseth is a student. He's not dumb.
No, he's a Harvard.
He's okay.
Yeah.
The U.S. military does influence American culture.
Absolutely.
And he does realize I have a potent way to bring masculinity
Yes.
and American culture back with the military. Because
And,
these guys
and the Lord Jesus Christ. Right. They quoted him.
And these guys are all going to shape up.
Yep.
They're going to come out shaped up men. Yep. And that's going to have a decades effect on the U.S. culture.
Yep.
Right?
And before World War II, they purged all the generals. And Patton was only a 1-star.
Yeah.
and he elevated. Eisenhower was a colonel, and they said, okay, Eisenhower's going to be the one that runs this war. And they chose a colonel.
Hey, had to get him to pass.
Had to get him up there, and I think that looked a lot like, let's purge out some of these guys
Yep.
who were DEI hires, who might be Soros
Yep.
padded as they got into their places and could affect us, or maybe even give away intelligence.
Yeah.
So they said, we're going to look at your social media. Trump said, you don't have to laugh at my jokes. You can leave if you want, right? But we're going to see who's doing what interviews after this.
Right.
And of course, several guys quit, and they've fired a few. And so, like you said, we're prepping for war, and that was unprecedented. I think what was just done, and the way that they did it.
So with that aspect, the idea of prepping for war, I believe the U.S. military has communication systems that are locked tight, unbreakable.
Right.
We can send a coded message to a general in the field, wherever he's in the world.
Yeah.
And no, China can't read it. No one can read it.
Right.
But all of those generals are surrounded by bureaucracy.
Yeah.
And the bureaucracy is what leaks. They have aides, they have everything else. And there's just something about any time of war situation that can only be like, it's the iron, it's the lead line room. You get face to face. We're not even writing this. I am telling you this because it can't be recorded.
Yep.
What I'm about to tell you.
Yep.
And I just have this sense that that's the kind of meetings that were happening.
What if they brought them all in and they said, guys, look, October 7th, this is what's going to happen, and October 8th, it's on. So go back to your commands, get some clean underwear, and because it's about to get scary, right? I mean, it has that vibe to it, guys, has that vibe to it. Jeremiah 6:14, 8:11, Ezekiel 13:16 prophetically say peace, peace, where there is no peace. We're on a day where we're teeter-tottering, and it can go either way, and we're saying both things. And we're strength through peace, but we're also very much preparing for war. And it's not to scare us, but I think as Christians, we should look up. Our redemption draweth nigh, and the power of our knees, looking up to God, could be the thing that God says, okay, one more day, one more year, one more, thing, because we're all in the midst of evangelism. We're all in the midst of ministry. We're all in the midst of planning 2026 and funding it and putting people in the arrangements. And so, but we want God to come at a point in time where we're doing that. You know what I mean? So we have to do that. At the same time, if you're a student of history and you're here, you got to know we are on the cusp of something. We're on the cusp of something. Why not revival? Why not prayer? Why not win more soul? Whatever. And I can't help but to be America first. I'm very much that way. And historically, you look back, and I am one that I know the realities, but I believe the stories about Washington crossing the Delaware and the charge down Little Round Top, and I know but I'm a believer in all those things. So in my heart, I'm a patriot, and I'm like, we are the good guys, and I want us to win in every detail. But I don't want one. There's Christians in Taiwan. There's Christians in Venezuela. There's Christians in Russia. There's Christians in the Middle East, and so there are brothers and sisters in Christ. They're closer to the butt end of a rifle or a bullet than we are.
Right.
But I think we're getting closer to that, not just through missiles, but through what are they going to do to churches and those kinds of things as well. So it is time to not be woke, but to be very awake, paying attention to what's going on. That's what the Bible Nation Society is really here for you. So make sure that you tune in to all the different things that we're talking about. Pastor
and
Jay.
anything, we just gave you your playlist because maybe we went over some topics that weren't even on your radar map. And us personally or connected with us on social media. And you're like, I didn't even know I should be thinking about Venezuela. Go read an article or two. Yeah. Go get a couple of things. You should know something about what's going on in Venezuela. You should know something what's going on in
Have
Japan.
some talking points at church, talking points to your family, talking points to the lost for different perspectives about what's going on. Yeah. It's been great to have you here today in the Bible Nation podcast. Next time we come back, we're going to talk about technology, particularly AI technology, and the synchronicity, the point in time where man and computer meet, where the computer becomes 51% of the corporate mind out there. And people are saying now we're less than 3 months away from that point. So we're going to have an interesting conversation about technology the next time we meet on the Bible Nation podcast. Thanks for joining us. The best culture is the Bible culture. It's proven and it works.